You know, some people age like a fine wine, and some people age like a can of special brew left on a hot windowsill. Whichever one you are, get ready to talk about those pesky little emotions of yours, because it's time for another episode of I've Had a Rosé, Let's Talk About Feelings. Please welcome your host, Sam Lake. It was me the whole time. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of I've Had a Rosé, Let's Talk About Feelings, where as you can tell, my guest is Milo Edwards.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
How are you, first of all?
Good, yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
enjoying being in Scotland.
Oh, good. It's nice, isn't it?
It is nice.
It's nice. It's not England. It's also not,
not
any
England,
other countries. No. It's Scotland.
Yeah.
To reference the last time we were on a podcast together, how would you describe your mood today? Do you think you're serving cunt, or do you think you're serving pussy?
Interesting. I don't know about today specifically, but I feel like as a rule in life, I'm more cunt than pussy.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think I have more of a hard-edged than a soft-edged character.
Interesting.
If that is a correct way to delineate those two things.
I think you've pretty much got it there. Yeah. If I recall correctly, this came up during a conversation about an episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah, that is likely given the podcast in question.
And that episode involved a legal... so there was incest in the episode, or threatened incest.
Threatened incest. Under the threat of incest.
Yeah. With some cousins. And then that led to the...
Right.
And then that somehow led to the conversation of what is cunt and what is pussy.
Right, because I think we were talking about Balamory and the fact that your mum was upset that
My mum was upset that my stepdad had a sex dream about Edie McCready, the bus driver.
I mean, I'm quite upset that your dad had a sex dream about Edie McCready, the bus driver, but I imagine in quite a different way.
Well, it was because in the first season, she was just driving the bus and her song was all about like, hey, I'm going to get you kids to school. And then the second series, Edie McCready's song became like very Mae West, like, why don't you climb up my pole and see me sometime? Because she had a pole to get down to the school bus, which didn't make a lot of sense.
Okay, so it's all like she's part-time fireman, part-time school bus.
And in her song, like, she's wearing sort of like a very cleavage-heavy sort of gold sparkly gown with a feather boa, and she's step inside my bus.
Do you think maybe your stepdad just finds the concept of a woman in charge of a large vehicle alluring? Like he sort of finds it impressive and a little bit transgressive, perhaps? Maybe.
He did always get a boner watching Penelope Pit stop. He didn't. Maybe. I don't know. How big a vehicle do you think? Like a tank?
A tank is a pretty big vehicle.
It's quite large.
So actually, a tank is more of a heavy vehicle. I'm not sure if it's probably actually smaller than the average bus.
Well, here's the obvious question. Is a tank cunt or pussy?
Ooh. That is a good question. I mean, I'm going to lean cunt. It is armour plated.
I think it is cunt, but then I think something like
depleted uranium is quite cunt, I would say.
I would say like an ATV, like a buggy kind of thing. That's pussy.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Depleted Uranus, could that be like a drag name?
It could be. I don't think that drag artist would do well.
Gear.
No.
Very specific market, like military bases.
Yeah. And also the thing with drag names at the moment is that, like, the more mundane, the more fun at the moment. Because they come in, like, the pun versions. So, like, I believe there's a queen called Val Qaeda. That's fun. Okay, that's a laugh.
Yeah.
And then you have sort of, like, quite classic, very long names like Alexis Carrington Dupree.
Oh, okay. So sort of not a joke, but just a vibe.
No, like if you like there are lineages like that name's carried down from there.
Well, like a racehorse, like the name is cobbled together from like the sire and the mare.
Yes,
and the, I see.
And then you have names that are just kind of like
putting a drag queen out to stud.
Well, she's used to being ridden.
She can't handle the heels anymore.
No. And then you have drag queens whose names are just quite simple, like I don't know. I will say it not just because she's in the room. Claire.
All right, yeah.
Claire would be a great drag name. Just Claire.
Okay, yeah.
Just Claire. I can't think of a drag queen who's just got the name Claire. Just one. Just Claire.
Mononym.
Yeah, mononym.
Yeah.
Claire.
What about TK Wax? How about that?
And then the joke is they're actually a bearded queen. It's actually quite hairy.
Yeah. But not only up top.
Only up top. Smooth
Hair everywhere
else.
apart from a single triangle.
Oh, and they let you know. They let you know they're smooth.
Approaching body hair the way the vet does for like a keyhole dog surgery. Like hairy everywhere apart from this one.
Keyhole dog surgery. There's something there.
What is in for a drag name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or maybe something around like keyhole, K-hole.
K-hole bitch.
K-hole.
I'm the K-hole bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now I think then we're just getting to names that are just for like silly big whore.
Silly big whore. Yeah.
Silly big whore. But then people just say SBW.
SBW, yeah.
SBW, yeah.
It's sort of like as a porn category. So into SBW. I want a big whore, but I want her goofed up.
I want to come, but I want to laugh.
Yeah.
I do.
That's
I want
right.
her to like trip over stuff and be a bit clumsy.
Yeah. You're looking for the cock destroyers, the silly big whore. That's the...
Now listen. First of all, one of them's dead. Show some respect.
Oh, I forgot about that, actually, yeah. And I mean this with all due respect to the cock destroyers. I think they're deliberately being silly.
Yeah. It's camp.
Yeah.
It's camp. It's pussy. It is quite literally pussy.
Yeah. It's pussy masquerading as cunt. Because they're quite aggressive, but there's like a... But there's an underlying softness to it.
There's been a mistake at the Quality Street factory and they've wrapped a pussy up as a cunt.
Yeah.
And so you pop it in your mouth and you're like... This is pussy.
Yeah.
I've had this in my mouth before.
I thought this was a
try
big
and trick me.
purple one.
Yeah.
But actually...
It's a little green triangle.
Yeah. Not
Oh.
a fan of Quality Street.
Interesting.
Give me a celebration. Not now.
Oh,
but
right.
No.
I just have some party poppers. No, would you, if you were having a tub of something at Christmas celebration?
Yeah, I think so. Celebration, and I think the celebration is the happy medium between the sort of. I feel like kind of a Quality Street or whatever. It encapsulates a certain kind of British attraction to misery, where like we can only allow ourselves a box of chocolate if half of them are bad.
Or ones that you don't like.
Yeah, and then I think a Cadbury's Heroes goes too far the other way. They're too juvenile. It's too just like everything's caramel. And I think the celebration, it occupies a nice hinterland between those two extremes.
Do you know what someone's going to do one day? And if they do it, you can have this idea for free.
Okay.
Someone will set up a shop where it's all of the miniatures from all of the different boxes, and then you go in and you make your
like
own
a pick
one.
and mix.
Yeah, because I want the cream egg one from the Miniature Heroes.
Okay. Cream egg is interesting. That's an acquired taste.
I like a cream egg.
Do you remember the ad where they were dipping chips in it?
Oh, it was basically just like, oh, how do you eat your cream
Outrage
egg?
porn.
Oh, I eat out of my Camp Locksmith's asshole, and then I like two at a time. Ooh.
Yeah. He has to sort of lay it into my mouth. It's quite intimate.
Yeah. Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Okay,
He does douche before. It's not disgusting.
Yeah, no, it's not weird. He takes it, if anything, too seriously. Adverts used to be so sexual, and I kind of miss that.
Yeah.
Like, when you were watching CITV, you would just see... There was an advert, and I've tried to find it, can't remember the brand. I want to say it was Bacardi Breezer, but, like, not Bacardi Breezer, like a reef or a... You know, like an Alco pop.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the genre.
And it was...
But it's a particular kind of sort of
It was
faintly Caribbean alcopop. I don't think it is a Caribbean, but they're implying that it is.
They're definitely suggesting it.
Yeah.
But the advert was like a bunch of people in latex getting like fruit and stuff sploshed on them. I believe that's the correct term, sploshing.
Sploshing, yeah.
And then there was a woman who would scream, "Give me the juice."
Right, okay.
Give me the juice.
So she's a bodybuilder.
Oh, I'll tell you what. She looked like she lifted.
Okay.
She did.
Yeah, all right.
But there'd be someone like strapped to like a thing, and then they'd be getting whipped, and then she'd be like, "Oh no, I remember it was vodka based," because she would say, and she was American or she had an American accent. "This is where he add the vodka," and then they show you adding the vodka, and then she screams, "Give me the juice."
Right. Okay. I see.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Write in if you know what the advert that I'm talking about. Please do.
There were some. I mean, the only advert I can remember being outrageously sexual, although I do remember in general adverts being quite sexual. I share your recollection. I just lack specific examples. Was the Kylie Minogue Argent Provocateur advert where she's riding the bucking bronco?
Oh, I don't recall.
In her skivvies. I feel like it. I don't know why I just said in her skivvies.
In her skivvies.
Yeah. In the popular skivvies manufactured by the brand Argent Provocateur.
Right.
You'd remember, wouldn't you, when your nan would get her Argent Provocateur skivvies on and she'd be riding the mechanical bull. She'd be like, leave me alone. I'm on the mechanical bull.
I forget that you're northern. No, good for you for getting into Cambridge. I
just feel like that kind of like reminiscence about how things used to be naturally falls into a kind of Peter Kay cadence. Because he created the... Do you remember when your nan...
Yeah.
She'd get Argos catalogue, wouldn't she? Yeah, it's that sort of...
A cream egg up the arse. Yeah.
The locksmith would come round, wouldn't he, with a cream egg up his arse. They don't do that anymore.
I do not remember this advert. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's you can watch it in glorious 124p on YouTube because it's proper old. I feel like it's from like 2005 or 6. And you forget actually how bad the quality of videos used to be in terms of just pure resolution.
Well, we simply didn't have the pixels.
We did not. We didn't have them to spare.
We did not.
They were all being used for like US military products.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in my day, a Game Boy, do you know how many pixels that had? About 30, if you're lucky.
Yeah. You were lucky if you could tell it was Batman. Some kind of shape.
That was actually like a huge problem. If you couldn't have it, that's why in Mario there was never anything in the background. Because if they put a background, you wouldn't be able to tell what's going on in the foreground. No depth.
Yeah. So, well, the people at Nintendo, they understand that less is more. You know.
I guess so, a little bit. But also, what if the games console had multiple screens and one of them was a touch screen and also it's in 3D?
Yeah, they're getting a bit much now.
Yeah. I think they'll be the first ones to make like a holographic console.
I've never been a Nintendo man.
No.
I didn't come from. I was very much a PlayStation household.
Oh well, I've got a PlayStation 5.
Oh, well, there you go. You're more up to date than me. Oh. I recently bought my girlfriend a Nintendo Switch because
lovely gift.
Yeah, and I think she's pleased with it. I correctly ascertained that this was the sort of thing that she sort of on some kind of level wants, but would never purchase for herself, and therefore I feel like that's quite a good gift.
That's a lovely thing,
because she could buy herself things that she normally buys.
You got her something she wanted, not something she needed.
Yeah,
it's a little treat.
But then I was kind of looking at games for it, and I was like, this is very. There's so few games that are even available on a Nintendo Switch that I would ever consider playing in my life.
They're very particular at Nintendo.
It's a very cutesy kind of existence on the Nintendo Switch.
But the people who play those games, they're sick freaks.
Yeah.
People who play Animal Crossing, of which I have played.
She's into it.
I've got an island. I haven't visited it in a while. People are worried about me. But... The people
You're like the Howard Hughes of that island. You've disappeared into your mansion. You're pissing in milk bottles.
Who is Howard? Oh,
the islanders are worried. He's that. Do you remember that movie, The Aviator? It was like 2004 or something. Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah. And he was playing Howard Hughes. He's like a. Well, I guess he wasn't a billionaire, but he was like the 1930s equivalent of a billionaire. Some kind of multi-millionaire, but what was a huge amount of money at the time. Right. And he was really obsessed with like aeroplanes and flying and stuff like that. But he kind of had like a psychotic break and he just became a recluse and he was like watching insane movies about planes in his like personal movie theatre and like pissing in milk bottles. Yeah, he was just like a very odd, eccentric man. And people for years were like, where is Howard Hughes? Because he was still alive. He lived a long time in this kind of reclusive existence. People were like,
the line of milk bottles must have gotten really long.
I presume he had some kind of staff who were removing the milk bottles.
Oh.
And I guess he would leave the house occasionally, but like, it was because he was quite a celebrity in his earlier life.
Right, okay.
And then he kind of gradually became this sort of recluse and it was like he was dead, but people sort of knew he was alive, but they were like, what happened to that guy?
Not all of the kids like having like normal like paper rounds and stuff, and then there's one kid who's just like, oh, I'm the piss bottle kid. I go around to the house and I clean up all the piss bottles.
Sort of the opposite of the milkman.
Yeah.
He brings the milk and I remove the detritus.
Detritus. You've simply got to stop using such big fancy words.
Yeah, that's right. Call it what it is, mate. It went tits up. I feel as though detritus, though, actually, I'm wrong to say detritus, because detritus feels like physical debris of some kind, and I feel like it can't apply reasonably to liquid.
Effluence?
Yeah, I like effluent.
Effluence.
I like that. Remember once Pope Lonergan saying to me the word effluvia in reference to like diarrhea, and I thought that was really quite an arresting.
He would know. He would know because he worked in.
Yeah, I think it was in that context. Yeah. But yeah, I thought effluvia was a great, and I feel like effluence is it's a cousin of the word effluvia.
It's a cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are going to think that like they've put on a much more. I don't know. This is like, I feel very educated.
Like you've got ideas above your station, you're going up market.
I think I have an idea for something that is like the next thing above crypto.
Okay, all right. I mean, a lot of people feel like they've got that idea, but I'm willing to hear it.
Why do people feel like crypto is a bad thing? Because it's like it's all digital and it's like hard to keep track of. So it's crypto, but it's on paper.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
And like you take it to the shop and you exchange it for like goods and services.
Yeah. And there's some kind of central authority in charge of it, sort of like a bank.
I think you'd need something like that just to keep tabs on everything. And then like obviously you don't want to keep it all yourself, so you could like leave it with them.
Yeah. And,
if you had to.
And someone's face would be on it. Maybe the face of like a significant person in the relative jurisdiction.
I was just going to say Javine.
Javine. Who's Javine?
See, now you can educate back.
me.
Yeah.
Here we are.
You know Girls Aloud?
Yes.
Cheryl, there she is. Nadine. Oh, so there's Javine up at the top.
Okay, yeah.
So Girls Aloud famously put together...
Javine sounds like a badly thought through pseudonym for Nadine. like she panicked, probably when she was using her fake passport.
See, you know that.
I do.
So
I've dated heterosexual women my entire adult life. I've heard about Nadine Coyle's passport.
So Javine was, when it was down to like the last 6 girls,
right,
and the public vote on the 5 that ultimately make Girls Aloud, Javine was the last one to not get in.
Oh God, she's the 5th Beatle. She's the 6th girl allowed.
Girls Aloud, the 5th Beatle. She, it was between her and Sarah.
She should write an autobiography called Girl Disallowed. You can have that, Javine.
She's not listening. 2, she doesn't like it when people message her about things because they tried to get me a message from Javine as a wedding present, my friends.
Right,
and she just never responded. And she's not on Cameo.
Not on Cameo.
No.
She's got too much pride. What's she up to? Do we know?
The last sighting of Javine was at a panto in 2014 Wolverhampton.
You're talking about her like she's a British expedition to find the Northwest Passage in 1844.
Now we're turning this into like Serial.
Yeah. Javine was last spotted by a whaling ship off the coast of Greenland. And that is her last known position.
She just dived off a cliff with a knife in her teeth, being like, I'm going to fix this.
Several explorers have attempted to find Javine, and Inuit peoples have told of her existence, but none of them could point to an exact location.
Yeah. Just a bunch of Inuit people going like, actually, Touch My Fire, such a banger.
Yeah. I actually think that she should have been the leader of Girls Aloud, said one Inuit.
Yeah. Yeah.
She could certainly have been an Atomic Kitten.
Oh, I mean, who couldn't have been?
Yeah, true.
Kerry Katona was in Atomic Kitten for longer than she realises she was.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Do you know, actually, here's a potential crossover between our interests. Do you know that Atomic Kitten in the very early 2000s did a crossover with MG, which was then part of Rover, and they created an Atomic Kitten special edition MG ZS. It was like a souped up fast saloon car, but it had a huge like kind of mural of Atomic Kitten painted across the bonnet. It was like a one-off special edition car.
And how did they make it like Atomic Kitten themed?
It literally had pictures of them on it, and it said Atomic Kitten on it. And we discovered this at some point in one of our YouTube streams that we used to do, and we were like, we have to buy this car. Like, where is it?
The Katona Mobile.
Because also it's genuinely quite a good, it's like a kind of a bit of a classic, like an early 2000s kind of like hot saloon. But it has Atomic Kitten branding, and I need to know where this car ended up. Yeah.
When you honk the horn, does it sound like Kerry Katona? Mark!
Maybe. Prawn rings.
We're back into the valley of the Camp Locksmith.
Oh, yeah.
Let's briefly talk about your drink.
Oh, yes.
You chose a gin and tonic.
I did.
Classic.
Yeah, it is.
Lovely. A staple. Is it your favourite drink?
It's definitely a go-to. It's
A go-to. A bread and butter.
It felt sort of authentic. I don't know. I'm not. My drinks vary a lot by context. I'm not a huge drinker in general.
No, I get that.
But I'm equally not I'm not one of these like. I find people who have not had an alcohol problem but very performatively give up drinking quite tiresome.
Okay.
Because I'm just like, well, we can all get a bit of attention. We can all do that. But,
yeah.
And people who are having addiction problems, I completely support them in giving up drinking. Those are not the people I'm aiming this at. I'm aiming it at your mate who's never had a drinking problem and is suddenly like, I actually don't drink anymore. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm actually doing a whole sober thing. And it's like, well, you still do cocaine, mate. So,
fair enough.
Let's roll it back.
No, you've got to replace the vice with something.
Yeah. And so that's just background on me. I would consider myself a moderate drinker, but I'm neither a prude about drinking nor like a massive drinker. I'm sort of medium.
Fair enough. That's absolutely fine.
And gin and tonic, I feel like is kind of my basic, because I drive a lot.
Yeah.
And and a gin and tonic is a drink that will not get you drunk unless you really hammer them consistently. It's a very light drink.
Okay.
Whereas a pint is a fairly light drink, but a high ABV pint can catch you by surprise.
They're too yeasty for me a lot of the time. I don't like
We're back to the locksmith again. And so I find, you can have 2 gin and tonics and as long as they're singles, you'll always be able to drive on 2 gin and tonics. You won't even feel like you've had a drink at all. That's fine.
Okay.
And I mean that in a like properly under the legal limit way. I'm not talking about like you can get away with it. I mean, as in you're sober, you're safe to drive.
I'm gonna have.
What is this?
No,
Not
I'm.
in Scotland.
Not
I'm
in
gonna
Scotland.
have.
Is that really true?
In Scotland, it's like the tiniest amount.
It's too late. After this, I'm gonna have another gin and tonic, and then I'm gonna drive a car, even though I don't have a license.
And then technically, you're not drinking and driving.
I'm not drinking and driving
Because you don't even know you can't drink and drive, so you don't have a license. They
I'm
can't
not
get
confident I would be able to start the car.
you.
I also can't ride a bike.
Oh, okay. That is
The
unusual.
only mode of transport I know how to use is a kayak.
That is quite Balamory coded. You kayak everywhere.
I grew up in Cornwall. There's not a lot to do besides kayaking, fingering.
Yeah.
We have a cider museum where you can go kayaking.
And
or
fingering
finger
must
someone.
hold limited appeal as a gay man, I feel like.
No, well, no. I mean, like if it's between, but fingering between men.
Yeah. No. Sure. No, I just mean as in, I'm aware that you can finger a man, but it just feels like it's a more limited enterprise. It feels as though it's much more of a kind of a peremptory preamble.
No, sorry. I just realised I said it sort of like. Come on now, Watson. What's a fingering between two men? That's not what I meant. I just wanted to be clear because I think male to female fingering is more of an event.
It's a staple. I mean, it's an odd staple. It feels like something it's a phase you go through in a certain.
Because I think again in the world of man to man fingering,
that should be the name of this podcast.
It was taken by a sassy locksmith. I feel like people would think it's like in preparation for something else.
Yeah, a sort of a kind of like a stretching regimen for a run or.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt I needed to add the word for a run there.
Yeah. So yes. So that's the only thing I know how to do: kayak and
finger a man. My 2 sports.
Yeah.
And modes of transport.
Just waiting for one of those to come to the Olympics.
Yeah, but surely, eventually.
I
feel like kayaking is in the Olympics, isn't
it? It is. It's not the one I think I do best.
That would be great. I'd love to see you sort of warming up for the men's fingering team of Great Britain.
I'd love to know how it was judged as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. Well, yeah, would you be fingering a teammate or like a judge?
Oh, that is fascinating. Is it a pairs event?
Yeah. Because is the person getting fingered in the men's fingering, are they kind of like the cocks in a rowing team? Like they're sort of a necessary part, but they're not really doing most of the work.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right, yes.
Like I'm on the team, technically.
This is how I think it would be. I think it would be... I do think... We're just talking about the men's. I think it would be... I think it would be a pairs event.
Okay, yeah.
And then I think the categories would be... there'd be two categories. There'd be one where there's an exclusive top, exclusive bottom, and then one where they, to use an industry term, flip-flop.
Okay, yeah.
And then... So I think they're fingering each other. Then there's the solo event where they finger themselves, and that's what they can be a bit more showy.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That would be like where you get your Tom Daley of fingering.
Your Tom Daley of fingering, which may also be Tom Daley. We don't know.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God bless Tom Daley.
And all he's done for the country.
I know. It's such a... he's a great demonstration of that fact that like sometimes people of low intelligence can be so pure. You know? Like it's such a... You can just tell that they're so nice. In a sort of...
I just didn't think that we'd be just saying that.
I wish Tom Daley so well. But just anytime you hear him say anything, it's like, wow.
Tom Daley loves a finger up the arse and he's a bit thick.
I didn't say which direction. I was merely speculating.
Okay, but we're all thinking.
I've learned when it comes to the gay community to be as open-minded as possible, because I find often the revelations are surprising.
Do you think what would you say is the most surprising one?
Or just like the dynamics. Like you meet someone who's like, I mean, quite often when you meet, it doesn't often hugely surprise you when someone's gay. I tend to find, although it does sometimes. But then actually their sort of like a position in the sexual marketplace of the gay community, I find, is sometimes you're like, oh, that's interesting.
Do you mean top, bottom, verse, like physical position? Or
well, kind of, and I guess there's some analogy between the two of both physical position and sort of kind of like I guess branding position. Like you sometimes, I always think like same-sex couples are so interesting because they're directly comparable. So you see, because when you see like men and women together, and you sometimes think, oh, they're a bit of a funny match, but it's like it's harder to immediately. But obviously, when
you see what you're saying, yeah. I tend to find people who have met me but haven't met my husband. Assume that I am something, and they are often wrong.
Yeah, we've had this discussion before.
Have we?
Yeah,
I do bring it up a lot.
Years ago. Yeah, but then also I would say I don't know David very well, but I would say you and David are quite different. Are we not supposed to say David's name? I should have checked that before.
I think if we're about to start talking about my sex life with my husband, we have to stop.
Okay, that's fine. I wasn't actually going to talk about your sex life.
No, it's just that one time I told a story that was quite innocent.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything to do with sex. It was about us going to see the lady who came second at Eurovision in 2018. We saw her at a club in London.
Right, okay,
and David wouldn't let go of her hat. I'm just telling the story again. It's already out there. It's fine. And she was doing that thing where she was like walking across the stage and like, you know, shaking hands with all of the fans. And we're like, oh my God, we love you, Eleni Ferreira. And then David grabbed her hand. And I have it on video. He grabbed her hand and then just like wouldn't let go. So she was just like, oh, I love you so much. And then she got David's hand and then she tried to carry on. And then you just saw like her arm just like get pulled back and she was like, and then she had to pull it away.
Wow.
And he didn't like that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
He thought they had a connection.
He thought they had a connection. He was ready to leave. Shall we talk about your topic, which I think we've touched on a little bit already.
Yeah.
But you sort of chose the topic of Britishness.
Yeah. So
what do you consider to be sort of like quintessentially British?
So I have recently been... this is sort of crystallised in my mind. It's something I've been fascinated by for a long time. But I think there's like a deeply powerful mundanity to all life in this country, which I think is quite charming in a way, because I think even no matter how rich or powerful you are in this country, you are nevertheless dragged down to the level of what Britain is, which is a country where fundamentally you can't have any dignity. And I was thinking about
Yeah.
this in great detail recently because there's a Twitter account I love called Great British Getty Images. Are you familiar with this?
No, but I think I'm about to be.
So it's an account that just reposts Getty images, like photos, taken in Britain at any point, but usually from the last like 30 years or so.
Right.
And it showcases the person, and in fact I did this tweet thread about Great British Getty Images, and the person who runs the account replied to me and said thank you for getting it. So I think I'm comfortable in saying that I understand what they're doing.
It's nice to have your work valued.
Which is, they're reminding people of quite how insane and yet in an incredibly run-of-the-mill way life in this country is. Like, it'll be a picture of Chris Tarrant and Nell McAndrew doing a photo shoot to advertise the Tesco Computers for Schools programme in
exactly
2003.
The photo.
Yeah, and she's in a kind of sexy cap and gown uniform. But the photo that really triggered a sort of Proustian reverie in me was one of Cherie Blair attending the premiere of Ben 10 Alien Force in 2009. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter how many lunches with the Clintons or the Pope or how many millions of pounds, that this country will drag you back down to the premiere of Ben 10 Alien Force. And David Cameron and Tony Blair were also there. It's kind of like, it's like our version of the Kennedy assassination. Like the number of future prime ministers and past prime ministers who were at this event is suspiciously high. Like MI6 had something to do with the Ben 10 Alien Force premiere, if only to humiliate present and future world leaders.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wait, so is there a part of the mundanity that you yourself often find yourself in?
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's less remarkable when you're an ordinary person. I think where it sort of what's so interesting about the mundanity in Britain is when it drags people from the public eye down into the realm of ordinary people, which I think it does so much more than it does in any other country.
Okay.
So, for example, like I remember, because I used to be on television in Russia many years ago.
I know, yes.
It's a throwaway thing. But people used to stop me sometimes on the metro in Moscow and they'd be like, what are you doing here? And I'd be like, well, I'm going from my apartment to my place of work. And they'd be like, yeah, but why are you on public transport?
Because they were like, why are you down here with the normal
and I'd be like,
people?
well, how much do you think they're paying me? Like, what kind of life do you think I'm living? Like, I'm chauffeur-driven in like a gold Rolls Royce everywhere that I go. You know, I get paid a small amount of money to do the odd television appearance. Whereas in Britain, I think the opposite is true. We completely expect people to be in the muck, and we're suspicious of people who are absent from the muck.
Yeah.
A great example of this is my girlfriend's mother once encountered Frank Bruno at a petrol station.
He is the boxer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Frank Bruno, that one. Yeah. And she, you're not looking too bad yourself. In fact, actually, sidebar, this is actually an even better example of something, and it also involves Frank Bruno. There's a video that my friend and I, the barrister who locks himself out of his apartment, are obsessed with. Which is a video, because we were at university, we would sometimes get drunk and put odd combinations of things into YouTube and see what would come up.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And he had a fascination with my hometown in Essex, Harlow, which is a real, it is a core kind of like mundane Hun type place. A lot of low rate gossip in Harlow.
Yeah.
And so we plopped in Harlow, and we were interested in Frank Bruno at the time. We were like, what would happen if you type in Harlow and Frank Bruno? And what came up was an interview with Frank Bruno on a defunct YouTube channel called Harlow TV.
Okay.
It had not been used in about probably 7 or 8 years. And they only had one video, which was an interview with Frank Bruno.
Okay, they peaked early.
Exactly, yeah. They were like, that's it, one and done. And it was an interview with Frank Bruno at a charity event in Harlow. I can't remember what the charity event was for. And he was being interviewed by a lovely lady, but the kind of lady that in Essex you might refer to as a brass. She was a brash lady.
Right.
She was a Hun. She was, you know.
Yeah.
It was very like, oh, Frank, I tell you what, you're looking very handsome this evening. No, you are. And he's going, you're not looking too bad yourself.
Did you used to run the pub in EastEnders?
Yeah, basically. The whole thing is in glorious 144p. It's unclear from the video. There's such a powerful sexual energy radiating from this video. Because she's like, oh, Frank, it's so nice of you to come to Harlow for this event. And he's like, no, I'm passionate about the charity work that I do. and then so we get into the kind of the flirtation portion. He's like, you're looking so handsome. Look at you. He's like, you're not looking too bad yourself. And she's like, no, Frank, I'm a right state. Honestly, I've got Spanx on. I've got a right muffin top under here. He's like, it's not too bad from where I'm standing. And you're like, they fucked after this. They absolutely, like, Frank Bruno came to a provincial provincial town charity event and then fucked this woman from the town like defunct YouTube channel. And I'm sure that both of them had a great time. They seem to have a genuine chemistry.
Right.
I'm not trying to, discredit this woman's journalistic credentials. It's just that I don't actually believe that she was a journalist. I'm willing to be corrected on that, but I just think she was someone who was asked to have a go.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be very surprised if this woman turned out to be Fiona Bruce. Like, I don't think
Frank Bruno should be so lucky. But yeah, so I think that's a great example. This is why is Frank Bruno there? Why? Anyway.
Okay, so when you suggested this and you said like I thought you meant sort of like the mundanity of like everyday life. But I think you're now more talking about like the crazy things that we have, like nostalgia-based things of quite well-established celebrities. Does this fall into that category? Destiny's Child were at the Brit Awards one year. Like not the original, but Michelle, Beyonce, Kelly. And they were asked what they would do about foot and mouth disease.
Yes, perfect.
So this is what you're talking about.
They're unused to that because they're Americans. An American journalist would never ask them about what to do about a farmyard disease. But now you're in Britain, bitch. Yeah. You're going to get asked about hooves.
And to be fair, Kelly did say something along the lines of like, well, we need to get those scientists in the lab and do something about
Get them back in the lab. Where are they? Where are the scientists? They should be in the fucking lab where they belong. Get the boffins back in the lab.
Scientists not wearing a lab coat, wearing a gold bikini that their mother made for them.
Scientist running towards the lab, toast in his mouth. Oh, fuck, there's been an outbreak. Oh, I was trying to enjoy an episode of Top Gear. Bloody hell.
Who's making us look into this? Is it Gary? Beyonce?
Look, we're beholden to Beyonce. She's pressed the big red Beyonce button, and we've got to hot-tail it to the lab.
The big red Beyonce button.
The big red Beyonce button.
I never understood why we had that installed in lab.
Beyonce alarm in lab's not. It's not gone off since the energy crisis of 1973. Beyonce were very upset about the 4-day week. Ultimately, she paved the way for Thatcher. Of course, she was only about 3 then.
She paved the way for Thatcher.
Beyonce's very right-wing. That's what people don't tell you.
No, don't say that. She's endorsed Kamala.
Yeah. And Kamala's as left-wing as it gets. I'm actually very excited for Kamala to be president.
Do you think... I mean, this is sort of stepping aside from Britishness. Do you think that will happen?
Well, okay, so I think Kamala or Trump, it's going to be close.
Yeah. Do you know what we need? We need that octopus that predicted which teams were going to win their matches. Paul the Octopus.
Yeah.
And just but he's dead.
R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
He died. Are you crying? Oh. Sorry, no, we have gone on a tangent. I thought you just found out that Paul the Octopus had died. And you weren't taking it well.
His tentacles are at rest now.
Yeah, God bless him.
They shall predict no more.
Yeah, but they were delicious. I think he was probably eaten. I think he was in a restaurant.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We simply aren't at 40 already, are we?
42.
Oh, wow. Right, we've got to get some more classic examples of this unique Britishness.
Well, so actually, I got sidebarred onto that Frank Bruno story, but it was started from another Frank Bruno story, which is that because I think Frank Bruno is such a great example of what I'm talking about. And I stress, I love Frank Bruno. I love Chris Eubank, another great example of this.
Yeah.
When they get Chris Eubank on Countdown, that's a British.
Chris Eubank on Countdown?
Have you not seen
In the corner or as a contestant?
No, Greg Davies does Chris Eubank on Countdown.
Oh.
Oh, you've seen it.
There's no need to do Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank does Chris Eubank so well. It's like
he's
like
a marvelous character comic.
Yeah, and I say this as someone who impersonates Trump a lot. There's very little point impersonating Trump because the things that Trump says are so uniquely beautiful and funny that it's almost impossible to truly do justice to the man.
Yes.
But yeah, so Frank Bruno, my girlfriend's mother spots him at a petrol station filling up his car and turns into the petrol station with a view to speaking to Frank Bruno. And
just making a move.
yeah, so she then just abandons the children in the car. Goes up to Frank Bruno, starts chatting to him, and then negotiates that he will give her a free signed copy of his autobiography. He opens up the boot of his car. It is full of copies of his autobiography that he's just driving around like Partridge himself. Perfect. And then she lies that her father is also a huge fan of Frank Bruno, and can she have a second one just because she wanted 2 copies? And Frank Bruno indulged her, but apparently reluctantly. I like that. The idea that he's driving around with a boot full of his autobiography, presumably in the hopes of giving the odd one out, maybe on a petrol station forecourt.
Of course.
But he's like, but don't take the piss.
He was there for a book signing event.
Come and get your Frank Bruno autobiography signed at the Shell. and you get a free sausage roll on the way out. Does anyone want a flap? I'm going over to the machine. It's so rare you get to do Frank Bruno. I apologise to most of the listeners of this show who I imagine probably don't have a detailed grasp on what Frank Bruno sounds like.
We're about to find out.
Yeah, you
Please
do now.
comment below if
it's a
you
decent
think
Bruno.
It's a decent Bruno. You had some other impressions that you did on the pod I did with you, and I tried it, but it wasn't. It was a character you'd made. I think it was Welsh Batman.
That does ring a bell. It's terrible around Cardiff, isn't it? I tell you what, I'm having to take a break from my day job, go out at night, dealing with ruffians. I don't remember if that's the bit I was doing, particularly. I can't remember how Welsh Batman came
it's
up.
very good.
Leave me alone, Alfred. Make us a rabbit, will you? When I get in, I'll be hungry.
There is a Britishness, I think, to Christmas adverts.
Yeah.
There was one that Sharon Osbourne did.
Okay. Yeah.
For
Sharon
Tesco.
Osbourne, a great example of this.
And she would go around Tesco and she would just find presents for everyone in her family. And at one point they let her say, and you can find it on YouTube of her saying this uncensored, she found like a pack of like video games or DVDs or something. She goes like, oh, lovely, that'll keep the little fuckers quiet for a bit. And they let her say that on a Tesco ad.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she did mean Aussie.
She did. And the many voices.
It's incredible that when you consider that, you know, many people become famous in Britain and some people fail to become famous elsewhere and become famous in Britain, like Peter Andre.
Yeah.
Right? But then you've got people, the people who break out from the sort of the more enclosured fame of British fame into American fame, which is therefore inherently global fame.
Yes.
They're an interesting bunch, right? And I think it's so fascinating that the Osbournes are one of them because they are one of the most lunatic groups of people this country has ever produced.
Yeah.
But they've been, I mean, and again, I say this with all due respect to the Osbournes. I find anything, especially Ozzy Osbourne says, hilarious.
Yes.
And I think Sharon is also quite amusing. So I'm pleased that they've been sent to torment America.
Have you seen, they've got a podcast. All 4 of them, they do a podcast now.
All 4 of them. I'm upset that the children are involved. I don't care for the children.
Well, there's one of the children who's she's not even a part of the thing.
Yeah, she refused.
She refused to be a part of it. They got her to do like one TV interview and then she was just like...
She's
no,
like a
it's not for me.
conscientious objector.
Do you know what it was? I think
Sharon's
it's because
pinning a white poppy on her, calling her a coward around the house.
apparently she's like a songwriter. So she wanted a career in the music industry, but she didn't want to be associated with her dad.
What do you mean, a songwriter? Are people writing this stuff down? I can't even remember half of mine. Sharon! Yeah. It's not a great Aussie, it's fine.
Are you a secret impressionist?
Yeah, I never do it on stage really, or very rarely. But
Yeah.
I do quite a lot of impressions.
Do you have... What's the one that people are least expecting of your impressions?
What is the one? I will occasionally my favourite impression moments. Most impressions get better with practice, and if you dial them in. And some people are just hard to impersonate because they have quite a boring voice. Impressions are also easier when that good impressions of them have been done before, because an impression is kind of a caricature, and so it's mainly about hearing what the critical bits of someone's voice is to imitate them enough to make it recognizable. And so if someone else has already accentuated those things, it's easier to do. But the most satisfying ones are when you'll occasionally just off the dome a great impression of someone, when someone comes up in conversation, you've never done an impression of them before, and then you just whack out a serviceable. Josh Widdicombe was one of those for me. Well, Josh Widdicombe, it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
You're trying to touch a debit card on the radio. I've never used a debit card before. I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
I do hear Josh Widdicombe, but I hear Josh Widdicombe as sort of like a felt puppet.
Yeah, I'm doing sort of exasperated Widdicombe. I feel like normal Widdicombe is harder to do.
Nobody has ever mentioned a celebrity to me and then I've been able to do an impression of them.
Oh, okay.
It's a very narrow...
Are there any celebrities you can impersonate?
I can do Cheryl Cole, but she's...
Oh, you're like my little brother. That's my activation phrase for Cheryl Cole.
But she's going through so much right now because the father of her child just died.
I lose track of Cheryl Cole's many. I mean, she's still known for the boyfriend.
I mean, I still call her Cheryl Cole, but that's not her name anymore.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's kind of her. That's stuck. Cheryl Tweedy didn't stick. Cole did. Fernandez Vicini was never going to stick. I don't know what she was trying with that.
No, that was Rogue. Yeah. Well, that was when she came back to X Factor for like one random series, and then she was like, and then the guy had to be like Cheryl Fernandez, and nobody was going along with that.
Yeah, no one's interested.
No,
you can't take your husband's name if it's double-barreled. It's too much. You've got to pick.
What? Just pick one of the barrels?
I think so. Because if you've got a double-barreled name and that's your name, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But going double-barreled, I feel like it's just really it's putting a lot of burden on others.
Because you're giving them more to say.
Yeah. Do you know what, Sam?
Mouthful.
Real talk. People with a double-barreled first name, not keen. I'm like, at the very least, your parents were deeply pretentious.
I feel like that's more of an American thing.
It is a bit American, yeah.
McKenna Grace. Persephone Louise.
Persephone Louise. That was real. Mum and Dad were arguing about the name choice there. Those are going in two very different directions.
It's a name that those, the Secret Wives of Mormon... No, what is it called? Wives of Mormon. Not the Secret Wives of Mormon. The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It's the name that one of the Secret Wives of Mormon Wives.
Yeah, I've got hidden wives.
The hidden cult of lesbian Mormons.
Yeah.
And you know what? They've been through a lot. They deserve all of the wives that they want.
I've got so many wives, I keep some at my aunt's house that my other wife doesn't know about.
And neither does my aunt.
Another great example of British mundanity, tiny temper. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so.
I've got so many clothes, I keep some at my aunt's house. Buy a bigger house, Tiny. Come on, what sort of limited income is Tiny Temper working with at the height of his fame? You know, the man can't even afford a walk-in wardrobe.
Yeah.
He's trying to,
Lethal Bizzle?
Lethal Bizzle, yeah.
Just a name that I recall.
Yeah. The Home Secretary has authorised the use of Lethal Bizzle. Yeah.
Jeremy Clark's, all of Top Gear. I think that's a lot, because a lot of it was just them going for a drive.
Yeah, well, and I think also the thing about the Top Gear hosts is they truly embrace the mundanity of it.
Yes.
Like the sort of the star in a reasonably priced car was almost like it was deliberately saying like, we know that's what you want. They're doing the judo thing of using the momentum of British culture against it. Yeah.
I'm really surprised that I understand that metaphor. Yes, that is what happens in judo.
I know very little about judo.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think you're probably on the same level. Yeah. Because there was that great episode where they humiliated James Corden because he turned up and then he was like, I can't drive a manual car. And they were like, what do you mean? And he was like, I only have an automatic license. And they were like, but you're a heterosexual man. Which I think in this context was a perfectly valid comment. When Richard Thingamabob said, I can't eat ice cream because I find the process of eating ice cream from a cone a bit gay. Yeah, that's weird. Enjoy yourself, Richard. Come on. Just have a lick. Yeah. Well, I mean, I tell you what, he's going to shit when the locksmith comes round. He thinks eating ice cream from a cone is gay. Wait until... No, because that's a cream egg. That's a more solid structure. Yeah. You know what you're getting.
We have to wrap up there.
It's a solid structure. Not at arsehole temperature, it's not. Believe me.
Well, no, because
I don't know why I said believe me. That implied that.
No, there's a thing that you can do where you have sort of like a steel implement. You leave it in the freezer, and then you. I'll show you
that seems like it would be uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your point?
Yeah. Sort of like the opposite of having a hot toddy.
Yeah.
when you're trying to cool off on a hot summer's day, and you just pop in the freezer butt plug.
Someone did tell me that if you are someone who needs suppositories that you take for hemorrhoids, apparently if you put those in the fridge, that's a game changer.
Oh.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's certainly a game changer when your flatmate comes home starving.
I said it to myself in the mirror. There's one last thing that we do with all of the guests. It's called Quickfire Feelings.
All right.
It's 5 random things. Just tell me how they make you feel.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be one-word answers. Just whatever comes to the top of your head.
All right.
First thing, and we ask this to everybody, how do you feel about dark chocolate?
Oh, I like dark chocolate.
You like dark chocolate? I
do, yeah. I mean, I do think that milk chocolate has a more sort of a straightforward enjoyableness to it, but there's something kind of there's like a more sophisticated kind of enjoyment that you can get out of dark chocolate, but you've got to be in the mood for it.
You've got to be in the mood.
Yeah.
Okay. I accept that answer.
Okay, I'm glad.
How do you feel about a nice day at IKEA?
Yeah, I don't mind that. I couldn't go to IKEA just for the sake of it. I'd have to have a goal in mind, but I'm a fan of the meatballs.
Okay, yeah, same.
Yeah, meatballs
like
are
them.
good. Yeah.
Do you do it with the lingonberry jam or no?
I go for the gravy.
No, you can have both.
I know. I'm not a big fruit and meat guy.
Okay.
So sometimes people are trying to push that on you, and
if you were eating pork, you wouldn't have it with applesauce.
Yeah, not a fan.
No.
Not a fan of that. No.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
No.
I'd go more of like a mustard sauce. Actually, no. If I'm making, I made a roast pork belly recently.
Oh, delightful!
I would go cider and whole grain mustard gravy. So I guess that there's a hint of apple there.
A hint of apple.
I just find applesauce in and of itself, it's too much like
it's
like
the
baby
vehicle
food.
of the yeah, I get that. How do you feel about those Belgian chocolates that are shaped like seahorses?
Oh, the Gillian ones.
Yeah.
Or the off-brand little ones, either way.
Depends on your budget.
I don't mind them, but I do find sometimes praline can be a bit sickly. It's sort of something that the hazelnut can grate.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like it. Sometimes it's just like a melt in the mouth.
If you've not had one in a while.
Oh, yeah, and you forget.
Yeah.
And they're very inexpensive for a box of chocolates.
They are. It would be very hard to get one in a locksmith's arsehole.
I don't think it would be.
The
Aerodynamically
it's too
speaking.
jagged. The one that's shaped like a clam would be easier.
Yeah, stick a clam up the...
Yeah. He's clammed up.
I've got to stick a clam up the locksmith, if you know what I'm saying. How do you feel about shower curtains?
Not a fan.
No?
No. I kind of prefer a shower screen. I find shower curtains have a tendency to get... There's something not quite right about a wet curtain. They tend to go a bit mouldy at the bottom. And
Well, that is the problem. You got it, especially because you tend to leave them bunched.
Yeah.
So they do get moldy. They can get orange.
Ooh.
Seen that? Because that's a particular type of mold you get in bathrooms if it's not a ventilated enough area. It's a different type of bacteria.
Like a fake tan shower curtain.
Yeah, a little bit actually. Yeah, you could just if you used fake tan, it would probably.
Yeah, I feel like a shower curtain is really like it's a rented accommodation phenomenon. I feel like whenever anyone owns the place that they live, they don't choose the shower curtain. It's something that's chosen for you by a landlord who has ultimately contempt for you in the way that you live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do see what you mean. Where you would prefer a shower with like a solid door.
Yeah.
A cubicle.
Yeah, exactly. Something sturdy. I always find with any rented accommodation, no matter how nice, when you go in there will always be a giveaway, like a landlord touch, like the most inscrutable signature in the corner of an oil painting. Like there'd always be like a light switch that does nothing, or like a plug socket that's been painted over.
And there's a bug that's been underneath the paint and been painted over.
Yeah. Or like a door that doesn't close in an otherwise like nicely decorated.
Or one massive cupboard that's always locked.
Yeah.
and you're not allowed to go in there.
Yeah, just things that if you owned a place would drive you insane. Just no one would do. It's not about expense. It's simply about having contempt for the space.
Or you you lift up one of the floorboards and there's like a family of very small people living under there, and they've been like stealing all of your like buttons and.
Well, yeah, I mean borrowing technically, but that's what they call it.
All right.
Yeah, honestly, the discrimination against the borrower people.
They're
gonna give it back.
There, I've said it.
Couldn't get cream egg in their arsehole. That'd be like they could live in a cream egg.
They could.
Yeah.
You could put them up the cream egg's arsehole.
Yeah. Yeah. Climbing in there. Exploring. Like a sensory deprivation tank for a borrower.
There's no segue.
Floating on the white albumin of the cream egg.
It's fondant.
Yeah.
I think we should respect that. How do you feel about Mudeng?
Mudeng. I quite like Mudeng. I appreciate. My girlfriend's a big Mudeng fan.
Big moo head.
Big moo head. She's always got that deng on her, if you know what I mean.
Okay. Yeah.
She's a dengist, let's say that. I appreciate that. Too often, people are obsessed with animals that are like too straightforwardly cute, or they're like faintly evil seeming, like the one-armed monkey in China. I don't care for that monkey. And I don't care for monkeys in general.
Okay.
I'm anti-monkey.
Ableism is fine as long as it's about a monkey from a foreign country.
The fact that the monkey has one arm is not the issue. That, if anything, is probably a limited point in the monkey's favour. But overall, it's a bad monkey. And actually, all monkeys are bad. I'm going to put the marker down that.
Wow.
They're evil. They're like...
I said the other day on stage that dolphins are rapists, and people said to me, they sort of looked at me like, how dare you? And I was like, no, the science is there.
That dolphin has actually scored quite a lot of goals for Manchester United. So I think it's unhelpful to the team if by suggesting. Dolphins are... a friend of mine at university doesn't do stand-up anymore, so I feel comfortable repeating this bit. Had a bit about dolphins, because he'd read an article that said 5 or 6 innocent people a year are raped by dolphins, and he was like, which implies that there's more, but they deserved it. Like they were doing something to allure the dolphins beyond the reasonable restraint of a dolphin.
Sure.
But monkeys, I think there's something, they're kind of like, when you sometimes someone who has like a child of about 6 or 7 and they just have fucked vibes, and you can't voice it yet because the child's too young, and it would seem churlish as an adult, but you're just like, that child is going to go on to do no good.
I mean, like a child who squeezes the hamster for a bit too long, bit too hard.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Or just fucked behaviour, and you're just like, it's not good. And I feel like monkeys are but they're stuck in that state permanently.
Right.
Where they'll never attain like higher consciousness in order to do something truly evil. But the evil is fundamentally in them, were it given full expression in a sort of Flowers for Algernon type scenario.
Have you not seen the documentary Planet of the Apes?
I haven't actually seen it, but...
Have you not?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're sort of like, the whole vibe is like...
Yeah.
Oh, damn you dirty apes.
Yeah, well, he lands on this planet, and then they immediately put his windscreen wipers off, which has put him in a foul mood to start with. Like at Woburn Safari Park, like the monkeys, like they famously, like they pull all the shit off your car.
I've never been to a safari park.
Ah.
I've been to a zoo.
Well, the zoo is kind of like the... a safari park is like an open plan zoo.
Yes.
Yeah. Free range.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Mudeng, I think what she captures is a sense of the general ennui of being a zoo animal. Like, she's furious permanently. She's biting people. Yeah. And I kind of respect that, because there's an honour in it. It's not a kind of like mischievous evil. It's more of a kind of it's the scream of the unheard in Mudeng's case.
Oh, it's like that scary novel that's called something like I Must Scream and Yet I Have No Mouth, or something.
Yeah.
I must tell everyone how sad I am at the zoo, but I'm a hippo.
Yeah. And also she's fat, and I like that in an animal. I do.
You like a fat animal?
Yeah, a fat cat, glorious. A fat dog, brilliant. Skinny little horrible chihuahuas, no.
Big chubby bear?
Yeah. Oh yeah, great.
Oh,
perfect.
lovely.
Fat bear week? Great week. I mean, there's 2 different kinds of week.
There really are.
Yeah. I'm referring to the US Park Service Fat Bear Week, not that 1 week at Bernkine.
I don't think would bears be allowed in there.
What bird kind?
That's that club where like they're very strict about who people get in.
Well, I will confess that I'm not as expert in these taxonomies as you are, but I think having been to Berkheim, there were some what I would call bears in there.
Okay.
Because a bear can be like either muscly or chubby, right? They just have to be kind of sizable and hairy.
Sizable,
yeah, big fellas. Yeah, definitely.
Big hairy.
Yeah,
big hairy beef.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, great. I think that's a natural close.
Mudang is smooth, of course.
Mudang is very smooth.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the podcast.
It's been my pleasure. I enjoyed it a great deal.
Do you have anything that you would like to plug to our listeners?
I do. I have 3 podcasts. Oh boy. Oh boy. Sam has been on my podcast, Masters of Our Domain. Which,
I had a lovely time.
Yeah, it's very fun. Yeah, I do it with Phoebe, and now we do it with another guy, Patrick Wyman, because we've run out of Seinfeld.
You ran out of Seinfeld because I came on when you were doing the last series. Of Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've now moved on to the third mic is a classical historian. And we do TV shows that are set in the classical world or have something to do with the classical world. And we do the same kind of riffing about why they're shit or whatever, but then we also do the he does a bit of like historical, because Phoebe and I both have classics degrees that we don't really use at all,
right?
Because it's not that useful in modern life. So we just kind of silly but a bit educational, more educational than the Seinfeld one was, at least. Glue Factory, which is quite a lot like this show.
Yeah, lovely one.
It's just chit chat. It's a bit of fun. You should come on sometime.
Oh, do you know what? I'd love to. Think about this. I love a chat.
I'll tell you what.
I love a chat.
I'll drag you down to our level.
I love a big fat hippo.
And we'll bring on some cream eggs.
And then I'll be able to tell who I'm eating. I don't want to finish that.
Yeah.
They're
Eat
lovely
the cream
podcasts.
egg, excrete it whole, like a snake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. And you're on tour as well?
I am. I'm on tour. I'm in Scotland right now, but I'm going all over the UK. So if you live in the UK...
All over everywhere. All around the towns and everything.
Yeah.
Lovely. You can follow this podcast at I've Had a Rosé, where we're posting clips, because I know you like clips, a little bit of content, don't you? They love clips.
Yeah.
They just love clips.
If you'd like some clips from the arsehole of the locksmith...
then become a subscriber. And we'll see you again for another episode very soon. Goodbye.
Bye.